Amanda Lucidon is an award-winning documentarian and filmmaker who had the honor of serving as the official White House photographer for First Lady Michelle Obama from 2013 to 2017. Her new book, Reaching Higher, shares an insider's view on the role of the First Lady while sharing personal memories that reveal what makes Mrs. Obama so special. Please give a warm BUILD Brunch welcome to Amanda Lucidon. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Such a big fan of Michelle Obama, and I
too.
got to go through this book. First, for you, like, how hard is it to pull together the images? Because I'm sure you took just thousands of pictures.
Yeah. Well, for me, for the Reach Higher, I wanted them to be photos that were really kid-friendly, that highlighted Mrs. Obama's important work that she did to make the world better for young people. Yeah.
So this is the children's version. You released a previous book.
Yeah.
Why did you want to make a version specifically for kids to look through?
Well, one of my favorite things about working at the White House was the fascinating history behind working there. And so I love to, to go into all of these rooms and learn about former first families and how they use the rooms. So I thought that would also be interesting information for young people. Mm-hmm. And also, again, the photos are so relatable for kids. She's so much fun, and I think that there were multiple entry points that I think this is a good audience for this book.
Totally.
Yeah, what I like what you do in the book, because I think people don't know this, is what exactly the office of the First Lady is.
Yeah.
People don't understand that title, First Lady, is relatively modern, and you've had Martha Washington, Eleanor Roosevelt, Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. That was more they established as a presidential advisor, and of course Michelle Obama. So, did you also seek to kind of define this is what the role is and how Michelle Obama made it her own?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, because I thought that was another interesting way to present to kids is what does a First Lady do and what does a White House photographer do? And so, Mrs. Obama definitely, and I'll always call her Mrs. Obama. I know you guys call her Michelle Obama, but she'll always be Mrs. Obama to me. And I think that what she did was make the role her own, and she didn't have to do as much as she did, but all the amazing platforms that she worked on, Reach Higher, Let Girls Learn, Joining Forces, Let's Move, and I think that it's really important to share all the work that she did, and I think it's a way to connect the kids through the photos.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. There are some photos we want to call out really quick.
Yeah.
I think the first one is one of my favorite, Barack and Michelle.
Yeah.
I think we pull that up. So take me through just this moment, like.
Well, I love showing this photo because usually the room's like, oh,
yeah.
But not in here.
Yeah, not this room.
Tough crowd.
Not in here.
But what I like about this is, photos really connect us through emotions, and I think when I look at that picture is, I just see love, and I think that's something that most people hopefully can relate to.
Yeah. And what were they doing?
They were setting up. Usually we cover all the events at the White House, so it was an outside organization that was setting up to do a PSA, and so they were moving their cameras from one shot to another, and she just leaned into him really quickly, and I barely had enough time to get my camera up, and it just lasted a few seconds, so I think I had 2 frames, and then the moment was over. So
is that, I feel like being the White House photographer, that's kind of like your best photo, sometimes taking for the moment, you're like, I need to get this, your critical eye.
Right, and that's the cool thing about being a photographer is it's your job to be observant.
Yeah.
You're just supposed to be there to be totally present. And so that's why I was able to absorb so much from my time there. I learned so much from Mrs. Obama that shaped my life as a person, So it's because I was there and I was taking in every word that she said and, making sure I was ready so I didn't miss moments like this.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
And when you're taking photos like this, was there an urgency to turn over your images? I know we're going to
Yeah, so when we were at the White House, shooting events at the White House, we would go back immediately and put the photos into the server. And the important thing is we never deleted any photos. So there's a few pictures of my shoes in the archive, running with a camera, accidentally.
I mean, there's probably more than a few.
Yeah.
Good
thing I wore cute shoes. We would put the photos in the archive, but when we traveled, I did that on my own. I didn't have an editor with me. So there, like I said, 4 million pictures in the Obama archive. And yeah, so that's pretty incredible. And,
wow.
And that was the most important thing, was that responsibility of, you are documenting this presidency for history. So it was a job that I took really seriously.
Yeah.
But luckily, with hanging out with Michelle Obama, she always made it fun too.
That's so awesome.
Speaking of fun, I think we have another image of her in the garden.
Oh,
I mean, guys, she's just so lovely.
Yeah.
well, the garden, Michelle Obama garden, was such a big thing that she
Right.
came introduced to the White House.
Right, and this photo, we were actually going around to highlight innovative school garden programs throughout the country. And so this was in New Jersey and a rooftop garden, and these young girls were showing her how to compost. And so they asked, did Mrs. Obama want gloves? And she's like, no, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. And so, to the girls' surprise, she took a handful of dirt, and there was just like a little wiggly worm in there.
This is like making me miss them so much. It's like making me sad.
I low-key was
them.
getting emotional over here,
Yeah,
too.
it's so beautiful. Like the moments that they had in the White House are so special.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, I think we have one more photo with her and the girls who... It's just like, let it just cry now.
Yeah.
Just let it out.
Yeah.
So you got to travel with them around the world.
Yeah, and this was my first international trip to China. So, I was the only official White House photographer to go, and I wanted to do a really good job, So there were a lot of things, that would go wrong on trips. The things that you expect to happen don't always happen. And I think the key that I always try to share with young people is like, just, you just keep, you might get knocked down, just get right back up and keep rolling with it. And for me, like such a great reward was to be able to make this picture at the end of the trip.
Right.
And, just to see Mrs. Obama with her daughters and, like as a new mom that, you see this woman who's such an inspiration and with such a serious role and so many responsibilities, being a mother was her top priority. So it's always a good reminder for me, so.
Yeah, and you're one of the few female photographers in the White House. How did that impact? Because I'm sure your perspective as a mother taking these photographs really made those moments. So how was your whole experience in being a female photographer?
Yeah, so there are few people in history that have had the opportunity to be a White House photographer, and even fewer women. So, I felt like that the kind of images that I wanted to make, not just to cover the events for the historical record, but really intimate and candid and something that showed another layer of Mrs. Obama and her personality. And being a mother is actually, like I said, one of the most important priorities. So highlighting that and highlighting how nurturing she was with young children and how encouraging she was, and, to take the time at the end of each event to spend time, sharing a kind word or a hug with somebody on the rope line. I mean, that might not have been ideal for the people who were minding her time, but, she always reminded us, it's like, you don't know what people are going through in life. You don't know what one kind word or a hug means to someone, and that is worth taking the time for.
You followed Michelle Obama during President Obama's second term,
Yes.
which is pretty important.
Yeah.
How did you land such an incredible gig? I know you're also a filmmaker, and you have a very diverse background.
Yeah.
So how did you come to the White House?
Yeah, so I guess the shortest version of the story was I was a newspaper photographer. I took a buyout when the industry was in the decline. I moved to D.C., to a place that I thought was plenty of freelance opportunities, but it's also a really competitive market.
Right.
So it was hard for me to break in. So I was doing the jobs that were paying my bills, but I always made time to do the stuff that I loved, which was my personal projects. And even though nobody was paying me to do this work and it wasn't being promised to be published anywhere, it was this work that was winning me awards and bringing me to spaces where I met influential people like Pete Souza, which I think probably a lot of your audience know who he is. And so he called me up one day, because I met him at one of these events, and he called me up one day and asked me if I wanted to apply for the job. So, of course, my reaction was like,
Yes.
this is Amanda Lucidon, right? I was pretty sure he was pranking me or someone was pranking me, but luckily for me, I got to spend 4 amazing years in the White House.
Were you so thrilled when you got that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, even when I went in for the interview, I took like a selfie in the mirror, because I was like, no one is ever gonna believe, I'm not gonna get the job, right? And no one is ever gonna believe that I was here, So I was like, I just took a really bad selfie in the mirror at the White House so I could at least show people. So.
Did you get to meet with Mrs. Obama before you officially?
I met with her staff.
Okay.
There's actually a picture of me meeting her for the first time in the book, and it's sort of like
I kind of took pictures of you for 4 years.
Like I'm smiling so big I can't see out of my eyes. I have no idea what I said. And
I was gonna say, did you just black out? That's what
it was really important for me to have that experience because then I was able to recognize it in other people when they were having it. And so there's a lot of moments where kids are reacting to her. And so like, I know what that feels like. And so I was able to, make sure I didn't miss that moment too.
Yeah.
So that raw reaction.
Yeah. Towards the end, were you more comfortable though? Were you like, peace?
No, well, no, I think that's the cool thing about her and her team is that, at first maybe I was faking that confidence because it is such a big role.
Yeah.
But having that love and support around me by her team, they had confidence in me, and that made me have confidence in myself. And and I think that leaving the gates of the White House and having it, go forward in my career, that was really important for me.
And in the book, you write there's a phrase, the motorcade only waits for one person, and it's not you. That really stayed with you. Why did that phrase stay with you?
Because that was like my biggest fear was missing the motorcade. Because especially if you're in another country, so you miss the motorcade, then you miss the plane, and then in my role, there are no official White House photos made of that event. So how do we share that with the world? Right.
Oh,
so
that's really scary.
That's a little bit of pressure. So I made sure I was always like 3 times early, so my heart didn't explode. Like I was always like, no, I never missed it. I never missed it. Other people missed it. Wasn't me. I never missed the motorcade. Yeah.
And for you, what was the most memorable photo you took, or even event that you got to photograph?
Oh gosh, I think all of them. It's really hard for me to pick because each one has 100 stories behind it, and that was one of my favorite things was meeting all the incredible people as a storyteller with amazing stories. In Liberia, meeting the girls who shared about their determination to get an education, even though they had to overcome such overwhelming obstacles. Just to be in the room with them and just to be in tears because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is my job, that I get to do this every day and I get to be surrounded by inspiration. I mean, how did I get so lucky?
And how the work that she is doing and continues to do reaches so many people. It would be amazing to get to just watch that firsthand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So much fun.